we're going to be doing something different on this channel. We're going to be ranking the best NFL player based off of their age. And to give you an idea of how fun this is going to be, last year the oldest player in the NFL was 47 years old in Adam Vinatieri. Now Adam V decided to retire, so this year the oldest player in the NFL is 43 and the youngest player in the NFL is 21. Before we get to the content, make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications for a chance to win a PlayStation 5. Whether you're an old subscriber or a new subscriber, if you subscribed and turned on our notifications, you have entered for a chance to win a PS5. On top of that, please take some time to check out our channel memberships program and check us out on Instagram and Twitter. Now that we got all that out of the way, At 21 years old, we have Clyde EdwardsHelaire, who is barely old enough to buy a drink, but the running back rookie for the Kansas City Chiefs is making a pretty decent campaign for Rookie of the Year. He has shown everyone that he is wise beyond his years, with the ability to take the ball down the field and use his physical strength to push for the first down. He was able to give stiff arms all day in college and continues it against defenders much older than him. At the time of this video, Clyde EdwardsHelaire has been averaging 4.3 yards per carry throughout 12 games and is nearly eclipsing the 1,000-yard rushing mark in his rookie season. Every time he receives a handoff, pitch, or pass from Patrick Mahomes, you never know what amazing cut Clyde can make or how many opponents he will drive through to get that next yard needed. Expect to see more and more from EdwardsHelaire in the future, and that he will become one of the rushing leaders out there sooner rather than later. At the age of 22, we have Tua Tagovailoa, who was a star quarterback in college for Alabama, who went down with an ugly dislocated and fractured hip injury, and a lot of teams really didn't know whether he'd be the same. Thankfully, when you are in your early 20s, your hip can bounce right back. Recently, Tua was extremely impressive against the fierce Kansas City Chiefs defense, holding his own during most of the game and displaying an inspiring, call it almost a comeback fourth quarter. He showed that he could still be mobile even after a taxing game, as the rookie wasn't shying away from any play and still made a valiant try for a win against a Hercules of an opponent. The Dolphins are trying their best to catch the Buffalo Bills, but time is ticking down this season. However, Tua may be able to pull off a few miracles. The young gun appears to be the Dolphins' future, and the future, for once, looks extremely bright. At 23 years old, we have no other than Lamar Jackson, who is proving that even if his offensive line fails him, he will just make the plays happen on his own. Jackson makes a run out of nothing, and sometimes he just keeps on running and running until he reaches the end zone. However, what is amazing about Jackson is that his arm is also extremely strong, but he has remarkable vision as well. Even when leaving a game due to cramps or to perhaps take a bathroom break, he came back in on a fourth down to make a marvelous 44-yard pass while on the run for a touchdown. That play sealed a win for the Baltimore Ravens and kept their playoff hopes alive. You see, the Ravens were losing ground in the playoff race big time. According to ESPN Analytics, they were losing so bad that when Jackson returned from the locker room at the 2-minute warning on Monday Night Football, the Ravens had a 56% chance to reach the playoffs. Jackson is a true playmaker. At the age of 24, Christian McCaffrey has been battling injuries this year, but he is still the best 24-year-old out there. He has established himself as one of the best running backs in the league, and even if he doesn't step out on the field again this season, he will still return to be a dominant force in the Carolina Panthers run game. There is a reason that he was many fantasy football owners' first pick at the beginning of the season. He was expected to do big things. He exploded last year with 1,387 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns, and although he has only played in 3 games in 2020 due to horrible injuries, he has 5 touchdowns in those games and was a huge contributor. Expect Christian McCaffrey to be even stronger in 2021. At the age of 25, Patrick Mahomes will probably always be the best at whatever age he is. It's amazing to think of all he has accomplished and is only 25 years old. So far, he has a couple of MVPs, a Super Bowl ring, and on track to crush lifetime records. He's locked up with the Chiefs in the most massive contract until 2031, and on that date, he won't even be considered too old to be a great quarterback. The Chiefs owner, like others, have a lot of faith in calling him the most prolific athlete in all of sports. He is certainly one of the best quarterbacks out there. I mean, in 44 games, he has 13,620 passing yards and 109 touchdowns, and he is elite in so many other ways though, making 2 minutes in a football game look like 5 minutes as he drives the length of the field faster than anyone, throwing passes in one direction while looking the other, and he has a toughness, work ethic, and leadership that makes him look much wiser than 25. I mean, who doesn't like to watch Patrick Mahomes on Sundays? At the age of 26, we have Derrick Henry, who is another running back on our list, and he is the most impactful 26-year-old in the NFL. He is sometimes overlooked as he plays for the Tennessee Titans, who are not the largest market out there with the biggest fan base. However, they are in first place in the AFC South, and he has 586 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns in his last 4 games. His Week 14 show against the Jaguars was his 4th game with 130-plus rushing yards since Week 6, and his 8th 100-plus yard game of the year. No other player in the entire AFC has more than 2 130-yard rushing games all year, and no other player in the NFL has more than 7 100-yard games, but Derrick Henry does. At the age of 27, we have none other than Dak Prescott. The quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys may have been carted off in October due to a very ugly ankle injury, not to return this season, but he is still the best 27-year-old in the league. I mean, look at the Dallas Cowboys without him. They are horrible. He covered up more of the Cowboys' blemishes than a 16-year-old girl covers up her forehead. Luckily for Prescott, he should fully recover, and even luckier for him, he might be in a different uniform in 2021 if the Dallas Cowboys decide not to dish out at least $37.7 million for his franchise tag. At the start of the 2020 season, it was becoming historic for Dak. Through the first 4 games, he was leading all quarterbacks with 1,690 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. Perhaps the next year we can see the true potential of Prescott. At the age of 28 years old, Deandre Hopkins is clearly at his peak as a wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, and he's not even 30. He still has quite a few good seasons left in him. With just 3 games remaining in 2020, this 4-time Pro Bowler and 3-time All-Pro has 726 receptions and is nearing 10,000 receiving yards and has scored 59 times in his career. An impressive stat for Hopkins is his 13.4 yards per reception average. His hands are arguably the best in the business, and they are huge. He wears a 5XL glove. He rarely drops a pass and can snag one out of thin air even when being covered by multiple defenders, some who tower over him. He's only 6'1", but his wingspan is someone of 6'8" or 6'9", proving that Deandre Hopkins is truly a freak of nature. At the age of 29, Aaron Donald is a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, and the defensive tackle is the anchor of the dominant Los Angeles Rams defense. He already has 12.5 sacks, sneaking past TJ Watt, and doing it all while being double-teamed almost 75% of the time. Against Washington earlier this year, he had 4 sacks in 1 game, and he had brought Russell Wilson down 2.5 times. His 4 forced fumbles are an amazing line on the stat sheet as well. He can bench press 500 pounds, but is still fast enough to blow by an entire offensive line. If Donald is not getting to quarterbacks, he is pressuring them and making them sweat and causing them to toss errant throws, proving that he is very valuable to a defense and very feared by an opposing offense. 30-year-old Bobby Wagner, the inside linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks, earns the 30-year-old spot as he is high on the NFL Top 100 list and is Hall of Fame bound. He only has 3 sacks this season, but his consistency is what is amazing as he has played 100% of the snaps in all the games this season except for 2. In the first game of 2020, he only missed 1 snap, and then in Week 14, he was in the game for 81% of the time. He is a 5-time All-Pro, a 6-time Pro Bowler, and owns a shiny Super Bowl ring as well. On top of that, Bobby Wagner is a community guy who was the Seahawks nominee for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award just last season. At the age of 31 years old, Travis Kelce is another good guy, and there are quite a few of those on our list. As the Chiefs' Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year nominee for this season, this tight end really lights it up on the field as well. Kelce is leading the league in receiving yards, which typically is a wide receiver record. He is also armed with charisma and a brilliant football IQ. He seems to know exactly where to go on the field in order to receive the football. Kelce knows the exact corner of the end zone to catch a touchdown pass, and he appears to play a lot faster than the 4.61 he has clocked in the 40. He has the perfect combination of skills to get open and plays outside his already big 6'5" frame, and then before you know it, it's another Mahomes to Kelce touchdown, and the Chiefs have won again. 32-year-old Russell Wilson isn't the biggest quarterback on the field, but he makes big-time plays in big-time situations for the Seattle Seahawks. He has the quickest to throw average of any quarterback at 1.89 seconds. He can check the line of scrimmage, beat the blitz, and find the likes of DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett yards down the field in a quicker time than I can say Russell Wilson. He does that 70.4% of the time for an amazing completion percentage. With 36 touchdowns and 3,685 yards on the season, he is well on his way to his 7th Pro Bowl nod. With a tight NFC West race, Wilson will attempt to overcome the LA Rams and will have another chance to release that football quickly before Aaron Donald gets to him. 33-year-old Ndamukong Suh doesn't look like he is 33 years old, as he still steamrolls quarterbacks with 5 sacks on the season. The 3-time All-Pro and 5-time Pro Bowler doesn't seem to be stomping on any heads anymore, but he is still one of the best pass rushers around. Big, long, explosive, and powerful are all characteristics of Ndamukong Suh. He may be nearing the end of his reign as much younger defensive tackles fill NFL rosters, but as of today, Suh is still a freak. 34-year-old Jimmy Graham has been a dominant tight end for several years, but he is now outshined by the likes of Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Zach Ertz, but they are all much younger than him. Graham still averages 8.5 yards per catch and has 6 touchdowns on the season for the Chicago Bears. In the end zone is where he typically shows off his best moves. The Bears are literally clawing to get ahead of the Arizona Cardinals as the last playoff seed to play football in mid-January, and they are hoping that Graham again gets on a hot streak like he did earlier this season. Jimmy hasn't been at the Bears long, but he has made a big impact in the Chicago community as well, and is their Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Adrian Peterson is just 35 years old. Now, how is he that old, and how is he still contributing at running back for the Lions? Because 35 is like a grandpa for the running back position. He's the second oldest running back in the league, behind 37-year-old Frank Gore, so he's more of a mentor and plays a secondary role when it comes to game time, but it's still impressive that he gets out there and rumbles down the field. Peterson has had a solid Hall of Fame case and is inching up on the running back leaderboards, such as ranking 5th all-time in rushing yards. You never know, like Frank Gore, he may have a few more years left in him. At 36 years old, I want to give a brief shout out to the special teams and give Mason Crosby some love, who's the kicker for the Green Bay Packers, and give him the 36-year-old best player nod. But after what Alex Smith has done this year, I may have to go with the Washington quarterback. Even if he only played 1 snap, Smith would be considered the NFL Comeback Player of the Year hands down, but what is amazing is that he has done so much more after returning from probably the worst injury of all time, an injury where he almost lost his life. When the 3-time Pro Bowler and Smith took over this season, Washington won 4 straight games. In just 7 games this season, Smith has 1,420 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's currently dealing with a calf injury, but has proven that he plays like an Iron Man and isn't expected to miss too much time. At 37 years old, Aaron Rodgers, the surefire Hall of Famer for the Green Bay Packers, is putting up an MVP player type of year at almost 40 years old. He is first in 39 touchdowns, first with a passer rating of 119.4, first in QBR of 84.8, and third in yards with 3,685. He only has 4 interceptions for the year too. His arm is as strong as it has ever been, making the defense scramble to cover the entire field when he drops back. Rodgers' rapid release discourages pass rushers play after play, so he is rarely knocked down. He has recently led the Packers on a run in which they have taken over the NFC #1 overall seed. If Aaron Rodgers keeps on playing at this high level, who knows how long he will be quarterback #1. At 38 years old, Ben Roethlisberger is another quarterback that prior to the season, everyone wondered if he would be on his last ride. However, he has led the Pittsburgh Steelers to a remarkably outstanding season. They are slipping a little bit as of late, but started off 11-0 with Roethlisberger adding to his Hall of Fame worthy numbers. He looked like a superstar against the opposing conference. Entering Week 13, Roethlisberger had thrown 9 touchdowns against the NFC East and 0 interceptions. Some may say that he doesn't have the same arm strength as before, especially since he was out last season recovering from elbow surgery, but Big Ben is only 5 passes behind Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes on 20-plus yard passes. What Roethlisberger is doing is winning, which in the NFL is the most important thing. At 39 years old, Don Mulbach is our lone special teams mention. He's almost 40 years old and he's a 2-time Pro Bowler and he's the long snapper for the Detroit Lions. Far from the most glamorous position in the NFL, but a very important one to have consistency in. He's referred to as the Nolan Ryan of long snappers, as the speed of the ball that is snapped by him is very fast. He's consistent too, like a Cal Ripken Jr. of football. Missing only 1 game since 2005, that's 257 games played in 17 seasons. Other long snappers in the league have come and go, but it's been Dan for as long as many Lions fans can remember. We're also going to give a shout out to Andrew Whitworth, who just turned 39 years old a couple days ago, who plays left tackle for the LA Rams and has been named to the Pro Bowl 4 times in his career, is a 2-time first-team All-Pro and a second-team All-Pro as well. At the age of 41 years old, Drew Brees, which we will count as 42 as there aren't any 42-year-olds in the league worth mentioning, and Brees will be 42 just around the corner on January 15th. The Saints quarterback is still top 5 in the league and has 25 Player of the Weeks, 13 Pro Bowls, and a Super Bowl ring that shows that he has been a star for a long time. Before he went down with an 11 rib fracture and a collapsed lung injury, which hopefully he should return from soon, he was leading the New Orleans Saints to another NFC South title. His completion percentage this season is 73.5, and he has well over 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns with only 3 interceptions. This year's playoffs may be his final run, as he is looking more and more like he might finally hang up the cleats, but for now he is one heck of a 41-year-old or almost 42-year-old quarterback. At the age of 43, is there anyone else that we can mention other than Tom Brady, who may still be playing quarterback when he is eligible for the AARP, when he is 50 years old? As that's just 7 years away. I mean, it could happen, especially now that he's in Tampa Bay, where the high humidity keeps those old joints lubricated. We all know that Tom Brady is arguably the greatest player of all time. He can't even fit all of his Super Bowl rings on one hand. Remember, he has 6, 14 Pro Bowl nods, and 3 first-team All-Pros. Brady could be relaxing on the beach in his gold jacket, but instead he is still at the top of his game. He basically played 100% of the offensive snaps for the Buccaneers this season, which is amazing as his 43-year-old body has taken 13 sacks and 44 hits from the defense. Tom Brady has shown no matter how many times he gets hit, he gets right back up and makes plays happen, compiling 3,496 yards and 30 touchdowns so far this season. Tampa Bay may not look as dominant as all the Patriots teams Brady has won with, but they are really close to clinching the playoffs this season. It may not be a top seed, but it still gets him into that bonus money time.